Hey everyone, welcome back to Chaitaku. Hope you guys are all well. We are doing really well over here. Sorry for the irregular updates. Haven't really done one of these for a while, but been super busy. But we should be all right now to get going and get some content out over the summer. So yeah, hope you guys are doing really well, enjoying the weather. Shame about the football, but hey, that's how it goes. We've got lots of other stuff to look forward to anyway. Yeah, I'm joined today by my regular guest Dan from Music Fishbowl. Hey
Hello,
Dan.
hello. Hiya,
Thank you so
hiya.
much. Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. Thank you so much for joining us on the regular Sunday recordings that we like to do. I feel
Yes, yes.
like hungover or too tired.
Should be hungover based on what I drank last night, but I am not. Honestly, it sounds like we do like an AA intervention before we actually start recording with me.
I
I
know,
swear,
right?
like, Christ. It's
Yeah,
just, I go out on a Saturday night sometimes.
yeah. And I try to when I know I've got to try to got a recording the next day, I try not to. But hey,
Yeah.
it's all good. But thank you anyway for joining us, Dan. Dan, if you don't know, is from Music Fishbowl,
hmm
amazing music podcast. So please go and follow. It's I was gonna say this is vinyl.tap, but you've changed your handle.
Yeah, I have no. It just made sense. The
Yeah,
podcast,
it
it's not
makes
the
sense.
main, like it's not the main thing I do. The main thing I do really is keep a vinyl account on Instagram, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
use
yeah.
that for promotion. And it kind of makes sense. Music Fishbowl works as a vinyl account name anyway, so
I
it's like,
think it's
well,
got yeah,
just put
unify
them
it all under
together.
one brand. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really good.
yeah,
But and it's easier to remember as well. So yeah, Music Fishbowl
yeah.
on Instagram, on TikTok, I think as well. So yeah, amazing music podcasts and vinyl collectibles and chats and interviews. Just listen to Loft House the one, which was really cool the other day.
Yes,
Always good for
thank
my
you,
morning commute. It's a nice easy listen and
thank you,
yeah, yeah,
thank you.
check it out. Dan, thank you very much, Dan, for joining us here. For Chaitaku. And Chaitaku, of course, you can find on Instagram, on TikTok, and I'll put this recording up on YouTube as well. So all good. Right. Lots of stuff has happened in the entertainment world. Um, we've had a couple of big films out as well. Last one we
hmm
did was from Furiosa, which was about last month, I think, maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah,
Quite a
yeah, about a
while.
month or two ago. Yeah.
So we've had a couple, which I'm going to try and catch up with and try and discuss. Some shows as well. Some yeah, big stuff, but we will get onto those. But at the moment, I just wanted to talk about Star Wars because we are going to be focusing on the Acolyte, which is just finished on Disney Plus this week. And me and Dan always have Star Wars chats, and I
Mm.
think it's something that we always like get along with and always have good stuff to talk about. So I thought, yeah, just finish the big season and we'll talk about that. So yeah, let's get started. Anything else apart from that? No, I think it's just Star Wars then today. Yeah, I just thought if there's anything else. I don't think there are some other things coming in Star Wars. And also, wasn't it Bad Batch finished as well?
Yeah, Bad Batch has finished as well. It's
Yeah,
had its
so
last season. That's all
all
wrapped
right.
up. So,
Which I haven't
so
actually
yeah,
chance to see yet, but I will catch up with that. But yeah, I knew there was another Star Wars thing that finished as well around about this time. But okay, all good then. Right. So the Acolyte. Before we get started, Dan, what
mm.
are we having to drink today?
I've got a caffeine-free Diet Coke.
Ah,
I
right.
don't
Yeah,
drink
you
tea or
also did
coffee.
it. Right.
So being someone I'm not very good for your podcast in that regards because I know you're kind of meant to drink a tea, but I don't
Ah, it
drink
doesn't matter.
tea
It
or
doesn't
coffee.
matter.
So I'm kind of I've even got caffeine free, which is almost the direct opposite.
No, it's
But
all good.
it's
As
just
long
what
as
I
you're
had in the fridge. So
nice. Well,
it's
as
literally
long
what
as
I
you're
had.
drinking, it's fine. I think we were drinking beers last time we did this, so it's all good.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
All
Yeah.
good. Right. So, okay, amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. Right. It's all about having something good to drink, feeling comfortable, and jumping in. Right. So, The Acolyte is the brand new Disney Plus streaming show. Um, it is based around the High Republic era of Star Wars, 100 years before Episode One. It is like sees the Jedi at their height, and we start to see, yeah, just it's a good era to delve into because we haven't had much of that kind of time period in live action Star Wars. It's something that fans have been wanting for a long time to be seen in films. I know they did a little bit of it here and there in some video games, but and lots
Mm,
of extended like comics and novels. But I think it was very highly hyped because it was definitely like all right, the first time we're seeing that era of Star Wars with the Jedi,
mm,
and before any of the characters that we know and love, that, you know, especially the prequel era and sequel era and original trilogy and going way before that. So it's set around that, and it's set around yeah, the inner workings of the Jedi, their council, and what's happening with certain characters. It focuses on a, well, we'll go spoilers for this one. Obviously, I don't think we can
Yeah.
discuss this without dropping
No.
some massive surprises. But yeah, we'll go on. It focuses on two twins, Osha and May, played by Amanda Sternberg, and yeah, focuses on their upbringing and where their origins, where they came from, and how they get involved in the Jedi, and also how they get involved with the Sith as well. It's got a couple of really good actors in there. Lei Jung, Lei Jung Jae, I think is pronounced it, from Squid Game, you might remember as well. You've got Carrie Ann Moss in there as well. You've got some really cool newcomers as well, which is good. But yeah, no one instantly recognizable. So yeah, it's like a brand new kind of story, brand new kind of journey into a world we haven't seen much of in live action. So it's written and directed and created by showrunner Leslie Headland. It's the first thing she's done for Disney and Star Wars. She is new to all of it, but she's a fan. And she's read up on a lot of the lore and stuff, so which you can get to see a little bit of in the show. But yeah, it's 8-episode season from Disney. Yeah, just finished with the finale the other day, and quite a big talking point around the world with this one, especially with the fans. I'm thinking at the moment it's a little bit divisive, which is interesting for us because we can talk about that. But yeah, what do we think of the Acolyte? As the next big Star Wars show. Nothing to do with Mando or anything like that. It's just like refreshingly new thing. What do we think of the Acolyte? But before I get into it, Dan, I know we've been chatting every now and again on WhatsApp and everything like that about this, and it's been an interesting series for sure. I think you kind of know what I felt about it,
Yeah.
but I want to know what you thought before I get into it. So, what do you think of the Acolyte, Dan?
It's a confusing one because like it's overall I felt the whole time watching it I was like I don't love it. And when I say I don't love it, I'm not saying like that's not me harshing it or being harmful to it or horrible to it. Like it just hasn't clicked with me the same, and that's not necessarily anyone's fault. But at the same time, it kind of also makes you feel really good about it. It's an odd experience to get from a TV show.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a bit jarring.
Yeah, and it's not even doing it through fan service so much. It's doing it through giving you what you really like. At the end of the day, we're Star Wars fans, right? So we like people with massive glow sticks running around, clashing them against each other. That's what we like, and it gives you that
really well. Yeah,
and it gives you some of the best of that you'll ever see, because the choreographed fights like that are all exceptionally good. And you know, it was a big point. You know, it has been said that it was a big point that that's what they wanted to make sure you had some of the best lightsaber fights you'll ever get. It's like brilliant, great, you've done that, but it's just like the overall plot just kind of put it this way, the plot didn't match the lovely happy feelings that it gave me, if that makes sense. The plot didn't make me happy, what I saw made me happy. If that does that make sense? Do you get where I'm coming from with that?
I 100% agree with you. It's just, I think the pieces are in place for this one, and there's a lot of really interesting things that, you know, I was really interested in from the get-go, because it was going to be focusing on the High Republic, which you haven't seen, and it was going to be focusing on the failings of the Jedi, which is something that I've always been fascinated with, because Lucas even started this off with the prequels, that there's something dodgy going on with the Jedi, and they're not as amazing as they think they are, and there's a lot of failings that they've done. And I thought, okay, this is cool. And then obviously there's the sequels delve into that a bit more, with like Luke, you know, disbanding his Jedi status, and all that. Okay, this is interesting. This is something we haven't seen before, and I want to see more of this and where it goes, and then basing a story around that. So they had that. It had brand new characters as well, and it had the Jedi at their height and the Sith inner workings. And actually, what really excited me was that apparently they way back before, they said they were going to be focusing more on the Sith side of stuff, which we haven't ever had.
No,
And okay, so
no.
yeah, let's see stuff from the dark side and where they're coming
Yeah.
from and their dogma, everything. So the pieces are in place there, but then yeah, what you see on screen isn't, yeah, it isn't exactly that. And there are some really good things about this show, but overall, there's just like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's just, it doesn't, it's not, in my perspective, in my opinion, it's not successful in showing what it really could have. There's some really good stuff in this, but I just think it just didn't do it as well as they could have. But then someone else could say, some of the reviews I've been reading and so watching, they did do it really, really well. And you know, it takes a little bit of watching and rewatching to see, hold on, there's a lot of stuff in there that they managed to pull off. For me, no, because it just doesn't work for me, and I don't know what it is. Well, I can pinpoint some things, but then at the same time, there are some things that I like about it as well. Like for the finale, the last episode, I was actually probably enjoyed that more than anything that I saw beforehand.
Yeah.
I think we get to see, like, okay, they're putting the pieces together for, you know, future installments, which kind of thing, which, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, I can see.
It's setting up. It's quite clearly setting up how we get to Palpatine. Is what it's doing. We can see that. Like that's what's happening. I mean, I think whilst you're speaking there, I was trying to think why this is being so. It's not because it's not being so divisive, because the people who don't like it, no one's going, it's terrible. They're just going, it just isn't quite clicking for me. There's something there for me, but not in the way I want it. And it's like, I think that's where the show's strength is that it's never going to be so offensively bad, or it's not doing anything so terribly that even if you're not that into it, you're happy to keep watching, and you're happy to then watch another series, and there's no problem with that. That's fine.
I watched it as well every week, and even though I wasn't invested, I watched it.
But it's partially, I think mainly it's well executed poor ideas, and I think that's where it's coming from. And when I say poor ideas, actually it's not poor ideas, it's more poor, it's well executed poor ideas, no, well executed good ideas done poorly, if that makes some sense. Like that, it's really convoluted, but it's because it's well executed, really well presented. You know, it's not the best looking Star Wars show. It's by far not the worst. It's presented nicely in that way. Great choreography, all the stuff that Star Wars fans like on a surface level is there. Perfect, brilliant, done. Keep that, great. Even the fan service, pretty decent in this one, not bad.
But then the fan service was probably on the better side because it wasn't heavy-handed. It was slight, and it wasn't as like bad as they usually get. No, especially you know, and then everything was really literal tiny little bits, and that was it. I think I'm happy with that, and because I hate when they do big heavy-handed.
See,
you
go.
No, go on. That's fine.
I was going to say my main issue with it, and this is where I say it's good ideas, well executed, but also poorly executed, because that plot was put into 2 fewer episodes. 8 wasn't enough, nowhere near enough, in my opinion.
It's the problem that they've had since day one, I think, with Disney. It's just the runtime is not good, and the episode, you know, how many episodes they have is not good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's half an hour, 20-minute episodes. Disney, you got to stop doing this, man. This is one of their big problems. Like every other successful show right now has 45 to 60 minutes episodes, not more. Disney got to stop doing this because it is really hurting the show. It's really hurting the show.
Because it's like, this show has a lot of flip-flopping in multiple different ways. We have flip-flopping between flashback episodes and not flashback episodes, which was a big bugbear of mine, because of the small amount of episodes that there are. It's 8 episodes, 2 of which are flashback episodes. The first one, fine, that works perfectly well. Came in episode 3. Everything was set up in 1 and 2. Episode 3, I think it was, came in with the flashback. Brilliant. It developed. It basically gave you the answers you needed from the first 2 episodes. Fine. The next flashback episode, though, I'm not being funny, that should have been exposition, character telling the story, not in flashback, revealing things to the character that it's revealing it to, that needs to have it revealed, and that reveals it to the audience. That's all you need. You just need that
Yeah,
some
I
very
think
light
yeah,
flashbacks going on whilst he's telling the story,
I
but
think
that
that
should
was
be what, 5 to 10 minutes of an episode done.
yeah. Wasn't
Get on
that
with the
episode
plot. Keep it
7 where they
going.
repeat the same episode
Yeah,
again? Pretty much
it's
the whole thing,
and
just for
it's
showing
one
something.
episode before the end. Where's the momentum
Yeah,
gone?
yeah, yeah,
Like, there's no momentum now. You've
yeah.
blocked the momentum. Is what you've done. It's like you can't do that. That was just really poorly done.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Like,
know, and I don't know what was going on there because, I feel it rushes a lot, this show, and it does. It
yeah,
rushes a lot in the time frame that it's got to tell a story. I mean, there are characters like, I think it's May, for example, who
yeah.
decides to switch sides in a
And
quick as a flash, and
OSHA.
there's no
And
build up.
OSHA does the
No,
same. But
and
that's the
yeah,
other flip flop I was going to say
yeah,
about. Both of
that,
them
that
flip
yeah,
and flop their allegiances so quickly that you're
it,
like, I sat there
it,
going, what's the
yeah, yeah.
reason for
It
this?
really
Like,
irritates me because it's like there's no build up. There's no. It's just okay. Well, I'm like, okay, you're just trying to fit this in the next minute, and it really hurts the narrative. It hurts the characters because they don't get to flesh them out properly, and it just out of nowhere.
yeah.
It happens just with a few characters. They do weird things, and they don't explain. Even the what's it, Soul.
So,
Soul
that's
is
an
just
oddly written
he's
character,
not.
isn't
I
it?
mean, I really feel bad for the actor's great, and I
Oh,
imagine
he's
he was
brilliant.
excited to be in Star Wars, but I think they really shortchange him in this. I think they really, really
They,
mess around,
they
and
do the
they
character
give him
such a
short stick.
disservice.
He was
Like,
supposed to be a likable character. I absolutely despise him because he doesn't. He's just really he half-asses his explanations. He doesn't explain anything properly, and then when he had an opportunity to explain all of his motivations in the last episode, he doesn't do it, and he flip-flops again.
yeah,
To is it Osha? He
yeah,
doesn't explain properly. Like, oh yeah, so okay, spoiler alert. He kills the mom,
yeah,
the queen, whatever her name is, and
yeah,
she doesn't even get a chance to explain to that properly. It doesn't, and then he's obsessed with her for some weird reason, and you don't understand
yeah.
why is he so obsessed with her. And I thought at one point he said because she's a virgin, but it's because his accent. He said virgins. But
Yeah,
at one point I thought,
virgins,
oh,
yeah.
because they're virgins. It's like, okay, where are we going with this now?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know what? It's just the writing just really annoyed me because I can see what they were trying to do, but it's just not done
I'm,
they just
I'm
can't
not
do it
being,
properly.
I'm not being funny, but if they should have made him as a character who'd be like one of the youngest Jedi Masters to ever have been. He had a Padawan, but because he was so young, he lost his Padawan due to something. His Padawan died due to something that was his fault. And then suddenly he's got a reason to want to look after these kids because he's failed
So,
before.
something like
There's
that.
a reason,
You know what?
and it's his fault again.
Yeah, yeah.
What of a reason?
Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't find myself rooting for any of them. None of the Jedi, and fine. Yeah, I know they were supposed to show the Jedi is flawed and everything.
Part of
But there
the
was no
reason,
character
yeah,
to root for, because the main protagonists, the two twins, again they flip flop so much. It's like, okay, what
yeah,
am I doing? In fact, probably the only person that I thought I really loved was Quimir, the Sith guy,
yeah,
because he's so cool, and actually his motivations are straightforward the whole way through. And I
yeah,
think this is what made me like, decide. I've always liked the Sith because they're uncomplicated. They have straight goals and they
yeah.
don't mess around with it. And they say, yeah, this is it. They're all absolute. And he
Mm,
just his narrative was a straightforward goal the whole way through.
yeah,
Even though he was kind of like, strike him down and your journey will be complete. And I was like, well, are we doing this again? But
yeah,
at least his motivations were clear and he had a
yeah.
straight goal, right? And he was well played and he was cool and he was just a badass character anyway. But wow, there was no good like protagonist that I rooted for in this show at all. They were all really bad. Who was that guy? Is it George? I don't know. What was this guy name? The Jedi guy who God, so there was one Jedi, Jackie. She was absolutely useless. And I
Oh
just thought,
yeah,
man, she was so, and she's a good actress, Daphne Keane. I don't know what happened
yeah.
there. For such a dull Yord, another really
Yord.
boring character. Yord
Yeah,
bored me.
I
And he
know.
was supposed to be the cool looking guy that was going to be like, I thought it was going to be heroic and awesome. And I guess
Yeah,
he was trying to be, but then nothing. I was like, I don't understand. Torbin, dull. Oh my God. You know what really annoyed me?
what?
The freaking Wookiee. what's his name? El Naka.
Oh yeah, Kanaka.
God, he just could have had so much more to do. I just
Oh yeah, it was brilliant. Kanaka was when Kanaka did stuff, brilliant. But you're just sitting there like, why are you not using this really unique and different
yeah
character? Because like we're talking, this is the surface level stuff it got wrong, which isn't much. Let's be honest. These are we're getting into more nitpicky bits here now, but like because he was in it a fair amount, but you're kind of sitting there going. Look at the cool stuff. What everyone's
yeah
saying is
yeah
great about this show is the cool surface level Star Warsy stuff, basically. So it's like, well, look at the other cool surface level Star Warsy stuff. Why aren't you doing the really unique, different Star Warsy stuff that everyone's
yeah
well
yeah
happy to see
yeah.
more?
I
Like, why
really
aren't we getting? Instead, we got the most bland and basic Jedi Master in Soul, who we see for most of the time, and we got this other one. I can't remember her name, the Green Lady, but obviously she's been in comics a lot and had this
extra
lightsaber that's a whip,
an extra.
and it's like
Oh,
use
she
her
was.
lightsaber that's a whip more. Just get her to do cool different stuff. Like do
Yeah,
something with it.
that's what I'm saying. The elements were there. You had her, you had Kelnaka, the Wookiee Jedi. I'd never seen that before in live action. And you had freaking Carrie Ann Moss in the first scene. She dies and doesn't show back
Yeah,
up again in the later. This is what another problem is. They have these characters and they kill them off, but there's their first scenes. Kelnaka dead first scene.
yeah,
Carrie Ann Moss dead first scene, and then they come bring them back. Like, okay, now we get to see them, and then they still don't do much with them. A proper mess of a show. Really did not like this one. But then I think about it, and I like there's certain elements that are really good as well. But just proper mess, and I don't want to get into the other stuff as well because I don't think it looked particularly great. There was some really it looked
yeah,
cheap some parts, like some of the sets and stuff. But then like the CG like ship battles and stuff looked really cool.
yeah. Yeah, it's like that's why I said earlier. It's by far not the best looking Star Wars show, but by far not the worst. Like it's an odd position to be, and that's the whole thing. It's like it's kind of this in the middle show where it's like, yeah, it's good, but it's bad, and it's like, especially because when you focus on the bad stuff, it looks really bad, but when you focus on the good stuff, you go, actually, this is really good, and you're like. What,
Yeah,
you can't really say which one it is, and that's the
yeah,
weird part about it because you're just like,
some,
"Ugh."
and I don't know if it was purposely done like that because I know with the prequel films, all right, some of the choreography is not good there, and some of the
Yeah,
visuals, like especially when they're on green screen, is not good. I know people love those films, and the appreciation has been, reignited again because of the
yeah.
generation that grew up with it. But I know for that some parts of those have not aged well, and the acting is not great in a lot of those. But I know now people are like, oh yeah, it's amazing and everything because they're looking back fondly. Acolyte is similar because I see prequel vibes in there with some, bad acting. Like some of the acting is not good in this, and a
No.
lot of it's really, really bad. And then you got some really like basic, visuals in there that just doesn't look great. And then but I'm thinking, okay, but this is the same vibe as the prequels have. So the prequels can get a pass, and I think this can get past as well. But for me, who really grew up what didn't not like in the prequels, and I only recently appreciate them. I don't think they could have done that. They should have done that. They could have given it some real gloss and flair. This should have been longer episodes, or failing that, a film. Or
Yeah,
something because it could have really they amped it up if they cooked it more. I just think it's a lot of it is really half-assed, and I'm thinking is it and the budget is really high for this show, so I don't know what's going on. Star Wars has looked so much better, and I think they could have just done with a film, then we could have got some really big scopes and stuff, and big
yeah,
budget stuff like looked really good. Like
yeah,
this one, I don't know if this is one of the this one and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, and made me realize that I think I'm not into Star Wars as a TV show anymore because it's starting to look really cheap,
yeah,
and it's starting to look like they're not putting a lot of effort into those visuals and stuff like that anymore. I know it's there, but I'm thinking, you know what? I miss big screen, visually polished Star Wars
yeah,
because you
yeah.
know this one could have done that. I did scream television show from the moment it started. It screamed BBC Doctor Who. That's what it.
Yeah,
It's like, it's got. They're trying, but they've only got a limited budget. But the budget in this is quite big.
yeah.
But
It's big for any Star Wars show.
yeah, but this is the
And
problem with Disney at the moment with all their shows, Marvel and everything. They have a lot of money, but they're overworking a lot of people. But and the
the,
result is they've got too many cooks and too many projects, and they start to look really bad like this.
the one thing that benefits this show as well is that it's not Mandoverse. because with the Mandoverse, albeit some of them are looking cheaper as time goes on, there is still it's an expected level of quality to how they look, and they do look a bit better than this show.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about that though is that also, like, again, this show gets a free pass in a way because it's not Mandoverse, and it's not just because of the visuals. It's also because it's completely different. It's on its own. It's completely separate. Whilst with it doesn't feel like as big of a deal that this show exists because we know the Mandoverse is so close to completion. It's so close. It's what is it? I think it's one series of Skeleton Crew at the moment, potentially a second series of Ahsoka, and potentially a fourth series of Mandalorian. I think, isn't it? Is that what's left until the film? And even then, that might not happen. Like, it doesn't need to happen. The film can do it all, really. I mean, I've Skeleton Crew. We need to see how that impacts it. Like, ultimately,
it's the same with their Marvel stuff. I think they with Marvel, they're like, well, we've got too many things out there, and a lot of it is undercooked now because we're rushing it all out and we're trying to do too much. So let's get it down. They got to do the same here. So I think this was definitely the one that's like, right, you need to scale it down and focus on, minimal stuff now. Focus on Mandoverse because it is super popular and people love that. That's fine. Focus on that. This one, we know we would love to have seen High Republic Jedi and stuff like that, but you could have done it in such a better way. Maybe this one, hopefully, if it gets to season 2, fine. But I think they need to do another High Republic thing properly.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think 2 live action shows or 2 live action things running at a time, I think is fine. Because you've got to remember, we've got Andor still running, technically.
Yeah.
And we've got, at all points so far, we've had Mandoverse, and then it's been Obi-Wan, done. Andor, done. Like, these things are... That's it. I mean, Andor's kind of been left as that is going to have a season 2. Obi-Wan pretty much isn't. We kind of know that now. And as well as it never should have. That was perfect little fan service for the fans.
That was it.
Some people won't like it, but if you're a prequel fan and you love Obi-Wan, you're going to love it. Whatever. Just get that done. That's done. Make people happy, especially after they kind of ballsed up the Boba Fett thing. And even though that wasn't, I mean, I don't mind Book of Boba because it is basically Mandalorian 2.5, but at the same time,
it wasn't necessary though.
Exactly.
It wasn't necessary. It was that and Obi-Wan could have been a one movie because all it was fan service for here's your Boba Fett character. This is what happens after. Here's your Obi-Wan. This is what happens after. Done. That was it.
But the thing is, I mean, I think we can kind of agree on that the quality when they're doing just the Mandoverse and something else, done. Mandoverse and Andor, done. But season 2, okay, don't do any more live action until we have season 2 of Andor. Just keep the 2 running at the same time because it's easy. It's 2 different teams. Keep doing the 2 different teams. Get them, brand new team working on an Andor type series or whatever, or that kind of thing, and keep the same team working on Mandoverse. Keep going because that's just 2 teams done. Animation, different team. Completely different. Keep the animation running. That works alongside it. But now we got this other team doing Acolyte when they're still doing bloody Andor and sorry, excuse my French, doing Andor and the
it's fine.
the Mandoverse. That's too much. It's too much though, isn't it? Like
they need to. I know. This could have been a one and done film. Everyone could have been a one and done film. I mean, that was the original plan anyway, weren't they? We were supposed to do an anthology.
But that's why Book of Boba happened, because it was meant to be the idea was a Boba Fett film, but when Disney went off the idea, all the fans were so angry, so it's kind of like, oh, well, let's do Book of Boba, but we've got nothing really to say about him. That's why we've not done the film. So let's make it series 2.5 for Mandalorian. Once the Mandalorian bit kicks in, it gets good. But before then, it's just like, what's the point of this?
And I don't know, like I don't know why they're avoiding also like streaming movies as well, because this could have just been a streaming film, like the 2-hour film, just like Obi-Wan could have been a 2-hour film on Disney Plus, and they wouldn't have, it would have been much better. But because they drag it out, and I know they're trying to like tell more story.
It's money. It's money.
I know.
But if they can keep a subscription for longer, it's why they don't release the series all in one go.
Yeah, true.
Like
they're dragging out a story when they drag it out, there actually is no story to tell to drag it out, or they don't tell it in a really bad way. This was tighter; it would have been much better. But
that's the thing. Even the Obi-Wan series was tighter. Like that's a tighter series. It's got plot points that move on
Yeah,
to the next.
yeah,
This was kind of like, it wasn't. I mean, it did have plot points that kind of moved on, but the problem is 2 flashback episodes too much. 8 episodes not enough.
no,
Runtime of each episode not enough. Too many characters just completely dramatically changing who they are as people,
yeah,
and
yeah,
without,
yeah,
and that's because you haven't given it time to show that gradual change. Like,
no,
look how long it took for. I know it's it's not similar, but it kind of is in some ways. Obviously, because it's fan perception. But look how long it took to make Ahsoka a fan favorite, often second to Obi-Wan in many people's eyes as a fan favorite character. Like, it's that kind of thing. It took time, but also it's about the reason why is because her character arc was so perfectly constructed that you saw her go from being an annoying young teenage
yeah, yeah,
person
yeah,
to then becoming basically a hardened battle scarred and independent sort of late teenager,
yeah.
basically, or young woman even by that point. And it's
And I,
like that.
yeah,
That's time. That wasn't even
yeah, yeah.
taking into account the last series that
Yeah,
came out, and that
and I
even
love
developed
what
it
they've done
more.
with her. Yeah, and that
Yeah,
took that took several years. Was it Clone Wars started 2008 or something, and then until when it was the
yeah,
last season, 2020 or something like that.
yeah.
That
I
was
mean,
that's what you call like proper character progression, and then and then what they
yeah,
did with her in the live action thing didn't. I love Ahsoka just purely from Clone
yeah,
Wars cartoon, and not from the Ahsoka show. I think that was just fan
yeah.
service, but it
Well, it's
didn't
also
do much
Rebels as
with her
well.
there.
It's
Oh yeah,
it's
of
Rebels
course,
as
yeah,
well. So it took time there, and obviously
yeah,
like Tales of the Jedi added to it,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
came out after. Yeah, it came out after
yeah.
the
But
Ahsoka
then that
series, I think.
Yeah, and it shows just how carefully they had to craft this character over years,
Yeah,
and now they're rushing through it in 8 episodes. I really
yeah.
wanted to because I think some of these characters could have just done really well if they were longer and
Oh yeah.
form and just told better. Like Osha and May don't care about them whatsoever. I
No,
really wanted to
no.
this should have been an emotional
Oh,
two twins
the, talking of
separating.
them, there's a problem with immersion. There's a problem with immersion in this show. It really struggles to immerse you in. I think, and I think that's probably possibly its greatest problem is it struggles to immerse you in, partially because it doesn't give you time to get immersed. But there's also the fact that you've got the same actor, same actor playing Osha and May as an adult, but as a child, it's two different actors, isn't it?
So
I
this
think.
is, and it was one of the. I'm sorry to say. Now, look, I usually give free pass to child actors because they're children.
Yeah,
But my God, some of the worst child actors they could have got
I
because there
know.
was no. I just couldn't connect with them. It was like, oh, what am I watching here? There's no
Yeah,
emotion there. There's no connection. I can't feel for these characters. And there were some heavy-handed scenes when they have to make choices and. But like 1 minute,
yeah,
I hate you. Okay, I like you. I hate you. I'm gonna burn you.
yeah.
Burn.
It's
I was
poor
like, what are you
direction.
doing? It's
It's
really,
not
yeah.
necessarily their fault. It's poor direction and poor
Well, this is
editing.
this is the thing. Yeah. So I'm not
Lets them
gonna
down.
I'm not gonna blame the kids because they're just kids. But yeah, just like with the prequels as well with what's his name, Jake Lloyd and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
They could have just looked a bit better and just like give it more focus and give them more time to
yeah,
breathe and a bit more time to lock into this character. But they didn't because they have literally less than 30 minutes
yeah.
in these episodes with the
And 8
credits.
episodes of it. Yeah, exactly.
And it's just there's no characters that I feel for. Even what those Night Sisters. Oh my God, that's probably one of the worst episodes I've ever seen for a Star Wars show because
Yeah.
it was cringy performance art
Oh yeah.
that I see. And being an art student from art college, I had to see performance dance and stuff like this for a very long time, and I hated every moment in it. And they're doing it in Star Wars. I was like, really? We're going
Yeah.
here? And then they have, oh my gosh! And it's the first time we actually get like pop songs as credits as well.
I know. I know.
But then I'm thinking, you know what? Star Wars is for everyone, and I will champion
Yeah.
that.
This is one
This is
thing.
for like a generation of like I don't know, girls but definitely a younger generation. I'm old now. This is not
I
for me.
was
This
I
is for
was
young
thinking
kids.
this. I was thinking this when thinking of what I was going to say during this conversation. I was thinking this show would work brilliantly for children.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
quick, it's fast paced. Children don't necessarily always need the emotional reasoning behind a character
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
something.
It's Disney Channel,
This
like show
actually
movie.
works
It's
really
such
well as
a,
a kids
it's
show.
a Disney Channel. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why. And that's like, I was getting really annoyed, but I'm thinking, you know what? This is not for me. This is for a new generation of kids, and they're probably enjoying it because there's like two girl characters, which is great. There's a lot of diversity and representation. There's a lot of there's
yeah,
even LGBTQ stuff because obviously Leslie
yeah.
Hyland is of LGBTQ background. I think
Mhm,
it's her
mhm.
wife that plays Vanestra in this. So
Okay.
there's a lot of diversity in this, which is this is a, you know yes, great diversity, and then you just look, oh, but it's Disney, so a little bit is disingenuous and that kind of stuff. So I just want to
Yeah,
quickly, I want to say, because a lot of the vitriol and hate towards the show is because you get a certain demographic of Star Wars fans that hate, or they just say everything is woke basically, and
yeah,
they're really ripping into this. I don't. I mean, it's a problem that's in every fandom at the moment, but I know with Disney ruined Star Wars, there's too much LGBTQ, women only
yeah,
stuff, too not enough, Caucasians in this, too many different races. That kind of thing I absolutely despise because
yeah.
that's just,
Oh yeah,
come on, get with the times now. And I just want to get it out there that yes, a lot. If you go online to YouTube and just type in the Acolyte, I think 90, well over 90% of reviews you will see will just be from angry guys that are just ripping into it because
yeah.
because it's woke, or they call it the wokealite because that's
Oh
exactly what they're going to be doing.
Christ.
I don't care about any of that stuff because that stuff
No,
aside, it's not what the issues of this show are. I don't
I
mind what
I
people
actually
playing.
find
It's like,
I find that Star Wars feels more. Oh, I don't want to say realistic, but I feel more immersed in the universe, and I feel more like it's an actual, like, as someone who also loves Star Trek, like, to get
yeah,
sort of the Star Trek treatment to Star Wars in terms of like the actual size and scale of the franchise. Without the diversity within the franchise, it wouldn't feel as good having it
yeah. I
that
just
way.
think it's
It
always been
feels so
diverse.
much
So
better
yeah,
being
and
diverse. And I'm
yeah,
like, yeah, I don't care what these people have to say. They're
yeah.
just, well, I
So
do care because I don't like it. I don't like them saying that because I don't agree with it. But,
yeah, and I think it's just because
but,
it's always been
yeah,
representation of our society in the world, and our society, at the moment now is very, very. It's always been diverse, but and it's showing that in Star Wars, and it's completely
yeah,
fine. But I think that certain demographic, and it's a certain demographic of guys between the ages of, let's say, mid 20s to 40s, even 50s,
yeah,
realizing that yes, this Star Wars is now so big that you're going to get
mm,
stuff that is not for you, and that is
yeah,
fine. You want
yeah,
your you want your certain Star Wars to be, or what you like, action packed guy, protagonist heroes and all that kind of stuff. That's cool. You get that.
yeah.
But then, like, when I was watching this, I was like, yeah, this is not for those people. I think we've had
No,
enough of that, and I love that kind of Star Wars as well, because that's the kind of Star Wars I grew up on. I'm an OG trilogy fan. But I'm thinking this Star Wars is not for me because it's made by people, um, from different background to me, and that's cool. And they're representing that. And actually, it's more for children. And there's a lot of great representation in there. And it's got female centric story, and the Night Sisters are very much of women centered society, with clear LGBTQ parallels in there.
yeah,
Because I think, and that's fine as well. But that, what, it's not the problems of the show is not that.
no.
It's not that. The problems of the show are way more than that. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because I'm not going to cuss the show up for wokeism and all this kind of stuff because that's
God,
stupid.
no. And
The
also, I mean, if
problems of
you
the
want,
show are just more than that. You need to look
yeah,
past that aspect of it. And they said the same thing with the sequels. With Daisy being a Mary Sue, and all this Rose Tico romance and all this. It's too woke. Shut up. Let's
I
shut
mean,
up.
there's also a fact of like, and this is topical because I'm going to draw a comparison to the England football team here. With the
Yeah.
manager Gareth Southgate stepping down, everyone's like, "Oh, we need to get the best in class, but they need to be English." It's like, well, that's not
Yeah.
necessarily the
Yeah.
best in class. Like, if you
Yeah.
want the best in class, you go out and get the best manager in the world that you can currently get. And it's
Mm.
like, if you want the best in class in terms of actors, performances, etc., you're going to have people from all over the world or
Yeah.
from all cultures, all backgrounds, whatever. in your
Yeah.
show. So if you want it to be the best it can be, then you've got to get used to the fact that it's going to be
Yeah.
diverse. And if that's a problem
Yeah.
for you, then that's not a show problem. That's a you problem. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like you got to sort out that with yourself and find a reason why
Yeah.
you've got this weird
Yeah.
deep seated hatred.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
and you've got to fix that. Not,
Yeah. 100%.
like,
And I know it's Disney, and Disney are very disingenuous with their representation stuff because they're a scummy company, and I'm not the biggest fan of Disney.
yeah,
So
no,
a lot of
no,
the stuff they do is like, yeah, you know what, you're trying to tick some boxes over here, but they do, they it's fine like to have representation in Star Wars, and every media is always a representation of, a reflection of our society. And when George
yeah,
Lucas made the first one, it was all about the World War II and Vietnam War and that kind of stuff as well with the prequels.
yeah,
And now it's whoever's writing Star Wars now, Leslie Hyland, she's just, it's all reflection of what's, of our world right now, and that's fine. It is progressive,
yeah,
and I like that. And same with Star Trek as well. But that's not so those are not my problems. I'm happy with all that in Star
no,
Wars. That's cool. My problem is with the writing, is with the
yeah,
acting, with the
yeah,
ideas, it's with, choreography and some really good, fights in there, but not as great as could have been because they're just so snippets of it. It's a lot of all that kind of stuff. It's the show running,
yeah,
and just the planning and management of this kind of stuff is just, come on, like, you need to fix that. Those are the big issues of that, because if this show was, if it was cooked more, then it really could have been something. But those are my problems with it. And it's a Disney thing, because it's
yeah,
happening the same with Marvel as well. And Marvel was massive, so big, and I followed it through over 10 years of Marvel stuff. And even now, I'm sorry to say, and I know this this podcast is all about entertainment and movies and comics and stuff, but the Marvel drop off for me has been big. Like, I haven't even seen the last couple of Marvel shows, because just like Star Wars, there's too much, and the quality is not good, and they're cutting corners, and they're trying to rush it out, and you can see with the writing, and they need and it's drop off. And the last couple of Marvel movies haven't made as much money as they could have. I know, then, and the shows as well, just they come and go, and they're like, well, you should be making more of an impact. Boba Fett made more of an impact for me. Obi-Wan should have made more of an impact for me. But I can't, apart from the final episode with him and Anakin, I can't remember anything of that show. And this one is going to be another one where I'm just going to forget about it when the next series comes in. I don't think that's really cool for Star Wars, because it's not memorable. Like, the last couple of things haven't been memorable. Like, Mando was memorable. Like, those first 2 seasons slapped. They were so memorable. So many cool stuff.
First series of Andor. You remember
Andor, like, probably my favorite, and I'm glad, like, we went through episode by episode of that one, because that was really memorable. And you know what's memorable about that? The writing and the characters. That's memorable. And here it's just another one that's just gonna come and go. And I'm thinking,
isn't this the team that did Rogue One again, or some of them, or something like that on the Acolyte? Or am I wrong? I might be wrong.
Let's have a look. The showrunner is Leslie Hyland. Leslie Hyland is like I don't know she hasn't done anything before. She's only done like Russian Doll.
Okay.
No, I think is it Rogue One? Composer, starring. Who else wrote this one? Let's have a look. I don't see any.
It might not be. I might be wrong. I probably am wrong on it. So I was just thinking if it was or not.
No, a lot of these people are quite new, and I think this is one of the problems as well, because they kind of hire. They don't really hire. I mean, sometimes they hire people who've done previous stuff, but sometimes they just hire like friends of theirs, like and then it's like they kind of like best mates, and I was like, yeah, you go. I want to try. I was like, okay, you do it, and then I don't think they have the. They're clearly talented, but they don't have the chops for it sometimes. And this one is just like, I think someone. I mean, it's good if they want to like take a chance with like a small like indie person or whatever. That's cool. Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
But I don't think they had the chops for this one. The people.
Well, I think that's why, like, when we look at even the Mandoverse and the stuff that doesn't work, you at least feel the appreciation that they're adding to the story and building to something, and it is because you've got the same team running it through, and I think that's the benefit of having that, and it's the benefit of having Rogue One to Andor, that it's the same team that we know is successful and can do something good. They're not going to do it every time, because you can't win every game. You can't do it, but you can have have a high win rate, and
You
that's
can, yeah,
kind
and
of
I think
what they're
that's
doing over on that
yeah,
side. Whilst on
yeah,
this
yeah.
side with the Acolyte and yeah, even Obi-Wan to a degree, as much as I love it, um, you know, these are new teams coming in, and you kind of like you give them time, but the problem is unless you hit it out of the bat first time and you get a great a great series or a great show, a great film, and if people don't love it on the first one, you're fighting an uphill battle really. Like
Yeah, they need to, yeah.
you're already on the back foot and you're struggling, and I think that's where the Acolyte's going to struggle, and that's probably I would imagine if I had to make a guess that they're going to write the next series to complete, and then if they want to carry on, they can then carry on, but it would work as a two series
I think,
thing. I
yeah. I
think
mean, so the last episode was kind of like, okay, I can see what they're trying to do. It's
it
interesting.
very much set up the next series,
And
isn't
then
it?
exactly, yeah. So, and
Yeah.
I think Quimir's a cool character, but then and that'd be kind of interesting to see him be. But even though, again, he's just another Kylo Ren kind of, character and stuff.
Yeah.
Like this cool looking Sith guy, but they clearly, they want to do something with Osha and May, and they clearly want to, make them part of, the bigger picture kind of thing to maybe do more of them. I don't think they're going to be dropping them. I think they're trying to
Yeah.
really put them into, as moving forwards, there they are, and we want to do more stuff with them or link it to somewhere else. And obviously they've got, spoiler alert, they've had the big cameo drop of Plagueis as well, isn't there? So they really want to try to fit everything together. Now, I'm not too familiar with Plagueis, and I'm not too familiar
Where was that cameo drop? Did I miss it? Was it like an end credit scene or something?
No. So when Quimir and May, or is that sorry, Osha leave the planet they were on, there's literally a split second of Plagueis looking at them, watching.
Oh.
It's
Okay, I must have looked down at my phone or something during that point because I just missed that. Okay,
you just see a
cool.
hand. So
wow.
See a hand, and then you see him just.
Oh, of course, it's setting up Palpatine then becoming a thing. Oh,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not too familiar with the Plagueis story and everything because I haven't read too much of the novels or the comics, just a bit. So and I know a little bit of it, but I know that.
I don't think there's much on Plagueis in there, is there? Really, in the comics and stuff, it's not.
No, there's
too
just
heavy.
the novel, isn't there?
Yeah.
The Darth Plagueis novel. That's it. And I've just been reading up on it, so I know that. It obviously links into Palpatine. Obviously links into him, Plagueis being obviously the first Sith Lord to try to bring people back to life and to create life. And I think he had a hand in creating Anakin, as well. But then I know a lot of people were complaining because this show kind of messes around with the timeline kind of stuff and the established canon when they're trying to, it changes a little bit of it. I'm not too sure because I think Anakin was supposed to be the first human being created, Plagueis created from scratch. But here it's trying to say, well, actually, he was experimenting with Osha and May, who was created also.
Yeah.
Don't know too much about that stuff, but yeah, they're trying to link it into. Yeah, this. I just read theories like this was his experiment before he created Anakin and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know what, and obviously with Hayden Christensen, expressing interest to come back, and obviously everyone loved him in Obi-Wan, so they might be doing something linking into something like that, and maybe doing the Plagueis novel after, and bringing, and I don't know, but
yeah,
it's interesting. It's a big needle drop there, and what I know of Leslie Hyland is she actually has read a lot of the novels and stuff, so she knows what she's doing there, because a lot of the fan and lore stuff was pretty good in this. I am, they understood it. That okay, that's why that's that. Okay, I get it. Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
and even like that, the crystal bleeding where the lightsaber turns red.
Yeah,
that was something lifted from the extended canon lore as well. But I think they've done it.
Vader's comic had that, wasn't it? When he had to go and bleed his lightsaber.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. Wasn't it something? I think.
Yeah, they've done it slightly differently, but to bring that in there, that you touch the crystal and it literally changes to red. But here, it's done really quick because it's obviously just really quick in the show. But yeah, that kind of stuff is like, okay, so she has been reading up on it, such as she kind of knows. a lot of the stuff going on. So I think she can build it together, but I just
Yeah,
think that they need to cook it a lot more, and they need.
that's that's the thing. It's. I think we also have to be mindful of when we talk about the current canon extended media outside of live action and TV. Well, outside live action cartoon shows, basically, and the
Yeah,
films,
yeah,
is that, for example, the Ahsoka novel. They have told that story now in cartoon, and they have changed the story.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that is something they clearly do not view the cartoons, the novels and comics as equal to video games, TV shows slash cartoons and films. They don't view them as equal. They are clearly sub them. But at the same time, Filoni's reasoning behind this was the idea that Star Wars is set a long time ago in a galaxy far, far
yeah, yeah,
away.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
legend. Is all stuff of legend. Not all legends are told the same every time they're told. It's
yeah. That's
that's
true.
his which is
Yeah,
fine. But I'd rather personally, I'd rather they just got it right and
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
make those mistakes, or
Because
don't retread old ground. I can always go and read that book. Give
yeah,
me something
true,
new. There's
true,
also
and
that as
because
well.
this
So
is it's. I know it's 100 years ago this show, but it still crosses over with the characters that we know currently,
have
like Kid
longer
Amon,
lifespans. Yeah.
yeah, and Yoda in the last episode,
Mm.
and and who have every and they they have like all these the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy and all that kind of stuff. They kind of it's like because you're messing around with that as well. Sometimes you got to be really careful because they obviously
Mm.
in the prequels they said there's never been a Sith in so many years, but
Yeah.
they literally were there in this show where there is Sith, and it's like they didn't know anything about anything else, but they were experienced it here. So it's like okay, but then okay, do the short term memory, or
But
did, I think
they,
managed Kid
I,
Amundi's age at some point on the
I
canon arc.
think I've got a feeling with it. I think because at no point I don't as I have a feeling that they just view this person as a dark side user and don't know if he's actually a Sith or not. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah.
think that's how they're viewing it, and I don't think it'll ever be revealed because again, they need to see the rule of two. Will they actually reveal? Because ultimately, we've got the rule of two now. With
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I hadn't seen the play. I watched it late. I was on
Oh,
holiday.
right,
I was on holiday last week, so I watched it
right.
2 days ago. I haven't looked at anything online about this last episode, and
I was a
yeah,
really quick one.
I must have looked at my phone when it happened or something and looked
Uh,
away because
it's a really quick one.
yeah, I must just looked away because I missed it. But seeing that now obviously we can now see the rule of two.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
this is this is the same as the idea of Vader trying to you know coerce Luke into joining him to overthrow the Emperor. But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the same thing going on, which is what
yeah.
happens
So
with the
they,
Sith all the time.
yeah, yeah. So
So
they
it
haven't mentioned anything like that, and obviously they haven't said the word Sith once in the show. I don't
no,
think. So obviously, yeah, it
yeah,
could just be like what they just disregarded him as just a
as a
random
Dark
villain.
Force user.
Yeah, yeah,
And he
not
was like no other Dark Force user they'd ever come across before as well,
yeah,
because
yeah,
his fighting style, everything was so different. Like when they first saw him, none of them had seen a red lightsaber. Pretty much those who were
yeah, yeah,
alive.
yeah,
Like
yeah. So
so,
history of
there's
Rogue, yeah,
yeah, there's that as well. So it's almost like they don't really know what's going on.
yeah, and
So
obviously,
I guess you can fit it in that way, and they
yeah,
probably will explain this at the end of next series, I'd imagine.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like, yeah, it kind of yeah. I will say,
Yeah,
talking of
true. Yeah, so they
immersion,
can rectify or any of the things like that. That's
yeah,
yeah, season two. Yeah,
because this is all stuff that breaks immersion. So I will say, obviously, like having the two different actors play the child versions of Oshun and May, and then the same play the adult, obviously harms immersion. There must have been a reason for that change. Anyway, regardless,
yeah. They could have just
another
had
another problem.
one little girl play
Yeah,
two of them, and then
exactly. But
and Amanda play the two of
but
them. Yeah,
the thing is, immersion's ruined again because you've got potential contradictions. So the best thing they can do is nip it in the bud early, and they probably should have done already and just had a reason. But that's that. Another thing for immersion I want to say as well, because this is where I did struggle the most with the show, is that I felt like I was almost watching a documentary about the past of Star Wars rather than like if it was like an in universe documentary about the bloody sorry, excuse that again, about the High Republic era. Obviously we had two cameos basically from two main bits of fan service, which was Coyote Mundi and Yoda. and the way they did both of them was exceptionally different. Coyote was just there, and they didn't even focus in on him. He just said something, and that was it. It was like if we didn't know who he was, it would have just been another character. Whilst with Yoda, if you didn't know who Yoda was, you can see that obviously clearly making a point of, look, it's Yoda, that person you like, that alien you like, it's Yoda, it's Yoda. Look at Yoda, be happy. And it's like you're sitting there like, this is just ruining immersion. Why couldn't it have just? Why don't you just give us Yoda? Like, don't make a big deal about it. Just have him there. Like, everyone knows he's alive and doing pretty much the same as he was doing 100 years later. Like, we kind of all know this stuff. This has all been given to us already before. So why not just give us it? Like, just don't make a big deal out of it. It's already
this is what I love about
service is already there.
The Clone Wars cartoon. It's just the characters come in and they'd have a scene and they're just chatting normally and then they go. And but in the show, it's just conversation or something. But for us fans, like, oh my gosh, look, it's. But in the movies and the shows, it's always got to be big needle drops, isn't it? So but then saying that, I'm like, it was very subtle. It was just like really quick, which is fine. But they're kind of like hyping it up. Like Darth Plagueis was literally trending on Twitter the whole day.
Yeah.
When this episode dropped because of that small 2-second scene, so it just makes a big. It's for the fans. They just don't.
So where was he watching over them then?
He was just watching Osha and Quimera on a they fly off in their ship from whatever planet they were on, and then the camera just pans back and you see a hand and he's just watching.
Oh, he's watching them leave. Okay, cool.
Yes, and obviously I've hidden because obviously nobody knows about Plagueis here at this point. So and they're all
nobody knows. Nobody knows about this.
And I mean, Quimera didn't explain anything about having a master or anything like that.
Yeah, so I think the assumption is, and it probably is certain, that Plagueis is Quimera's master, I guess.
Yeah. It's literally for the audience and no one else in the show. Yeah. So that's just to prove that the rule of two exists and Sith are back and plotting. But again, and I just really wanted to see more of the Sith as well because that's what we haven't seen, and I'm happy that we saw a lot more of the Jedi because I don't really like the Jedi anyway. I don't think I've ever liked them since I saw the prequels and this is why I love the prequels story and the Clone Wars show because it literally shows the failings of the Jedi as much as they're the good guys, and I like it, and that's why I love Ahsoka so much because she also just like, you guys are just screwing me around. I'm leaving.
But that's what's so smart about the Clone Wars show and the prequels is that like you do kind of like you can see that the Jedis are up their own backsides and they
and that's
they're complacent. But you like the individual Jedis because they are noble, decent, good people who are fighting for what they believe to be right, and usually what is right as well. They're fighting for freedom and things like that, and they exist to keep people free and things, and they do that. It's just that as a collective whole, there's a big problem within. It's kind of like politics. Like you can see that some politicians within their parties are clearly hearts in the right place, but then. As a collective whole, the party might not be going the right direction, for example, or something. It's that kind of thing. So
and it's intentional. I love that Lucas actually wanted to show that because from the get-go, he said, look, they're good guys, but actually there's big problems going on. And that's why a lot, we as kids probably hated all the political discussions in Star Wars with the Jedi Council.
That's why it's there.
But then growing up, you realize, look, they're really, don't know what they're doing half the time, and they're really wrong in these decisions. And this is why Anakin, they failed Anakin, that kind of stuff. So, and I'm glad that we get to see lots of that here because here I really did not, like the Jedi, obviously on purpose because it really showed them that Vanestra was just really, up herself with making them, and then all the Jedis was like literally just barging into on a new planet, seeing a bunch of. I've been seeing that Coven and I'm like, right, we're taking the kids now. They're us. So it's like, that kind of stuff was really cool because it really showed that the Jedi are really not great people. Like, just literally kidnapping kids to be Jedi. Basically. And you can't get a say in it because we're doing it for the good of the galaxy. It was like that kind of stuff was really cool.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't think
is it David Hayward? David Hayward was in the show, wasn't he? Am I getting the name right?
actor. Yeah, I think
Yes,
he
his
was.
his his scene where he's openly critical of the Jedi in front of
Yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
Jedi,
So that was awesome.
brilliant.
That was
That
probably one of
needed.
the best
That's so
scenes.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that really
it's
resonated.
like,
Well, yeah, that's it.
yeah.
Reinforced
No,
things. Yeah.
not
No, that
David. Is it David or is it Martin? I can't think of
David
it. Isn't that his
Harewood.
name?
Yeah.
David Hayward. Yeah,
David
David
Harewood,
Hayward.
yeah. No, that
That's
was
it.
that they smashed it with that because that's exactly what the show needed to
Yeah.
like, and then that character is amazing. But at the same time, I just wish we saw more of the Sith side of stuff as well because I like the Sith a lot because of their views are
Mm.
just straightforward, but it's just the way they go about it, you know, is obviously, that makes them the bad guys. But they could have really delved into that too. But help maybe the second season will because now that is it Osha is with Quimir now.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get to see them, but delve into that side of it, and see what they get up to as well with, and see more of that perspective. But it was a really really prime way to show the failings of the Jedi a lot more, and the Sith as well. And they managed a bit of it, but if they had more runtime, you could have seen more. But but yeah, for me, really disappointing. But I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I
But
don't like it, and I don't like it a lot. I mean, I really, but I don't hate it. But
but
it's just like, yeah, blah.
I think I saw a TikTok the other day, and I think it's worth because obviously we've been quite critical at times and things. So, and I'm not usually this critical when it comes to Star Wars. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm usually a little bit
No,
more
because yeah, every time we
positive
have these discussions,
about things.
yeah,
But
you're way
I,
more dispositive than I am, anyway.
I mean, I saw this TikTok that said basically we all talk about the bad, but let's talk about the good with Disney Star Wars, and it's put a few things forward. So the first one is that they brought back a beloved character in Boba Fett from the dead, which, as much as like the show wasn't so good, the fact he was in season 2 of Mandalorian and the fact we got some more Boba Fett and Tamora Morrison as well coming back,
Yeah,
that's brilliant. We want to see that. That's fine because we don't want to see it too much, but every now and again having something like that's good. Same goes for Obi-Wan. Just at least seeing Obi-Wan again with Ewan McGregor, just seeing it. At least we got, even
yeah,
if it
that was
wasn't done
even.
well, at least we got
Yeah,
given it. Like
yeah.
otherwise, yeah,
As much as I hate that show, we got that one episode where they're together, and that's fine.
yeah.
that,
And
that
then
that that justifies that existence.
bringing back Hayden Christensen twice, and let's be honest, his bits in both the series he was in were the best bits.
Yeah.
We're
So
gonna be
again,
honest.
as much as I don't like Ahsoka, you got
Yeah,
Ahsoka and Anakin together again, and
yeah,
with Hayden Christensen, that's fine. That
yeah.
justifies that existence as
And that
well.
that brings you on to another bit as well because actually seeing a very small glimpse of the live action version of Clone Wars
Yeah, yeah,
again
yeah,
that's something that no one talks about. That little scene that only lasted a couple of minutes, but no one talks about it. But you would have never seen the Clone Wars in live action if that show didn't exist. So for all its flaws, you've still
I think
got
that is the one
the bit from it.
I think that's the
You
one
know,
that's remembered the most actually, because whenever
it
I
is,
go on
yeah,
to
but no one talks about Ahsoka. That's
no,
that's the
it's not
problem. That's the
Ahsoka. It's just
series.
Anakin.
Yeah,
Actually, you know what?
yeah.
And as much as yeah, fine. Rosario Dawson looked fine, but I don't think she did a good job as a live action Ahsoka. I thought she was quite bland. But
She was good until her own series. That was
yeah,
it. Like it
yeah,
was kind of like because she was really good in Book of Boba Fett with Luke. Like that was Ahsoka. When she was
yeah,
interacting with
yeah,
Luke, that was Ahsoka. That's the one you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
So I get it. She's battle hardened and things, and yeah, she is in Rebels. She's a lot more stern and everything, and it's just getting sterner as she gets older. Like I
yeah, yeah.
get that, but like there's nothing to show the change. So maybe at some point we'll be given that. The only other two things it said on here, which were, I mean, these are probably the two big ones people do talk about the most, is obviously Darth Vader's now more threatening, and that's also live action and animation. He's threatening in as well, which is kind of what we needed to see because ultimately he was just a campy guy in a suit. But really, but
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
original trilogy, let's be
Yeah,
honest, he
yeah,
was
yeah,
a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
like that,
Yeah,
which is the
yeah.
whole kind of thing. It is very campy, so it's fine. But the other one is obviously you got the they actually completed the series that was incompleted, which was the Clone Wars, and they did it
Yeah, yeah.
with
Look, I'm
the
not.
best finale you could have
Yeah,
given
yeah.
it
It
as
was a
well.
great. Yeah.
It
Um,
yeah. So
with
there
this,
is these
like,
good things as well.
yeah,
I
I
should
mean,
say.
Star Wars has always been good. They're good stuff and bad stuff. I mean, literally, you had a New Hope, and then the very next thing from Star Wars was the holiday special, which obviously is
Yeah,
legendary and one of the worst things ever made. So, literally, back in the 70s, literally, you had good Star Wars and bad Star Wars in the space of a year.
yeah,
So, Star Wars has always been, up and down, and that's fine. I grew up watching those like Battle for Endor, Ewok TV films.
Oh
I had
yeah,
on
yeah,
video, and then I had the cut Star Wars like Droids cartoon and Ewoks cartoon. So my
yeah,
Star Wars, like it's always been up and down, good and bad. Um, and Disney is not all bad. I love Force Awakens. I adore The Last Jedi.
yeah. Same.
Andor is probably the best TV show they've done for me. Next to Mandalorian was fantastic. So it's up and down, but I think this one is just another one that is, and it's not a Star Wars thing. It's just a Disney company thing, because same with Marvel. The last year of Marvel content has not been good. And the same
Yeah,
thing happening here. And they openly admitted that we need to go back to the drawing board with how we release stuff and how we
yeah,
what we're doing with this stuff, because you overdo it, and then because you're overdoing it, you're not giving it the love and attention, and you're just banging it out the door, because it's just more content, more subscribers, more streaming stuff. So this is just meh Star
yeah.
Wars, and bad Star Wars, and it's fine because it happens. Every franchise, like my favorite franchises, have good films and bad films in it. It's completely fine. But I think this is one too many now. So like, it's all right. Take a break and go back to the drawing board and do it, because you can be good. Because Andor
Well,
was
yeah.
fantastic, and so you can be good. Just take a break and sort it out.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, or use your time with the cartoons that you know are good as your breaks.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is a bit. Star Wars is kind of in a weird position where it's in this position of being a bit like an emotionally manipulative relationship with someone, where like you're constantly being drawn in because they can be great one minute, then the next they just aren't, and you're always thinking about the time when it was great before, and it's all of that kind of stuff, which is addictive. So it's like,
it's because it's
we're kind of all addicted to it still.
Yeah,
we're kind of all addicted to it still, but we haven't yet broken that bond, that trauma bond we got with that person. Like we haven't broken that.
Yeah, it's 50 years old, so you got like fans across every generation. You've got the OG fans, you got prequel fans, you got sequel fans, you got Clone Wars kids fans, you got the new fans now. In the last, Disney have had it for nearly 10 years now. So you've got those kids who are from the Disney era fans who've grown up and what they've done, because they've had stuff like, they had that cartoon like for little kids. They've got a Jedi cartoon for really like toddlers. It looks like. And they had they had like Rebels,
which apparently is quite good. I just haven't watched it, but apparently it is quite good.
Yeah,
I just haven't watched it.
There was another cartoon show that came out at the same time.
Resistance.
That's the one.
Resistance, which is sort of that is a Saturday morning cartoon show. It's as bland as it comes. It's got a couple of really nice bits in that are really nice. Which kind of make it worth watching. But it's one of those things. It's one of those shows that is 20 minutes long each episode. You put it on whilst you're in the shower.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen all of it?
Yeah, you put it on whilst you're in the shower on your iPad on the side, and then you kind of like, as you're getting sort of dried and dressed, you're watching it. You don't, as an adult, you don't need to sit down and watch it. Put it on when you're doing other things.
Yeah, but this is the thing, because it's so generational spanning, right? Star Wars, and and it's been around for such a long time. I don't think one generation can watch all of it and enjoy it, because you can, if if you have a high tolerance level and you can endure all of that. But I think they do Star Wars for every generation, every age group, and this one is definitely for a group, a demographic. Is that it's not me, and I'm thinking that's fine. If I don't enjoy it, I can say what I want about it, but you will get someone who really enjoyed it, that it was for them, and they will praise it. And I've seen a lot of praise for the show on Twitter. They're loving it, and I look at their age and everything, and I was like, okay, so that's for them, or people don't have to be a certain age to enjoy it, but you're not going to enjoy everything, and that's fine. So when I see stuff, I'm like, I don't like it, but I just say, what, it's not for me, and that's fine. I'm not going to watch I'm not going to watch the Jedi cartoon there for the little toddlers.
No, because it's not. Yeah,
it's not for me. But
it's not going to add anything that's like important lore. It's going to be Clone Wars style cartoons that are going to add important lore. So those are the ones to watch, like Bad Batch and things. I mean, I will say, in terms of the generational thing as well, all of the fans that I know who are 50 and older, they actually just enjoy Star Wars. If that makes sense. It's almost like they kind of like. It's not that they're at peace with it. I think for people who saw it when it was originally coming out, or as a child, they were children when they saw the original trilogy and there was nothing else, because it can be a few years later on VHS or whatever, but there wasn't anything else. I think they're just appreciative that they have Star
Yeah,
Wars still, and
yeah, yeah,
I admire that, and I kind of like I speak
yeah,
to people at
yeah.
work of that age and things, and I'm talking to it about them, and they're all just kind of like just enjoying it, and it's like I feel
Yeah, and you
maybe
can
we're
enjoy that as well. Yeah.
maybe we overthink it, and maybe we can learn something from it, but
I don't know because I think
because
it's a
they
bit of
don't
both.
think about it
Because
much. They just kind of
yeah,
like just watch it and enjoy it, and like,
because you can, yeah. Because but saying that anyone can enjoy this, and actually, this is I imagine it's supposed to be a show for everyone, not just a certain demographic. Because
yeah,
obviously there's stuff in there, that's prequel era stuff as well, and it's like it's trying to,
mm,
but it's for adults as well. Like Star Wars is for everyone.
mm,
I definitely think there's stuff that is for certain fan bases and certain parts of fans as well. Like Obi-Wan was definitely for the prequel era fans.
mm,
Ahsoka was
mm,
definitely for those fans that grew up on the Clone Wars.
yeah,
And that wasn't me because I only watched the Clone Wars recently, but that was definitely for that. And
yeah,
so there's definitely, and and the sequel trilogy was definitely for those fans that grew up on the OG
yeah,
Star Wars, because that was the finishing conclusion to that narrative.
yeah,
So and the next going forwards, the next set of Star Wars stuff on live action stuff is going to be stuff that continues from the sequel era with Daisy
yeah,
Ridley and all that kind of stuff. Who's already 10 years old now. So yeah, everyone can enjoy it, but I also think there's stuff for certain people, and this is not for me, and that's fine. If you enjoy it, that's cool. At the same time, yeah, anyone can watch Star Wars and enjoy it. But I'm thinking, when you watch something, and we're fans and we're critical, and we can watch something and enjoy it, but at the same time, we've got experience in watching a lot of stuff, and we enjoy it, and we enjoy having a critical eye, like with writing and characters and ideas and stuff like that. I don't think we're being overly critical. I just think
no,
it's like, what, we can enjoy something, but we also have critical eye, because we're artists as
oh
well,
yeah. I mean,
and
um,
that is, and it's fine to discuss that and
yeah,
criticize. So hold on a second, this one didn't like this one. However, we're not raging and throwing stuff out of our prams and screaming and shouting online. Like, you see, if you go onto YouTube, that's what people are doing. They're screaming and
that's
shouting, and fans sending death threats and all that kind of stuff. And we're not that, because we can
that's
let
the
it
thing.
fly.
It's just remembering the fact that, like, and I think this is so important. It's like the world with the Acolyte, the Star Wars world with the Acolyte is a better Star Wars world than without the Acolyte. It's not done anything to harm anything. It's not changed
Yeah,
the lore. It's only added to it to make it a more immersive and
yeah. I
real
mean,
universe. And yes, I struggle to
yeah,
be immersed in the show, but like
but like
combining
yeah,
that with Jedi Survivor, with the lore that comes from there about the High Republic, like combining them both, I feel quite invested in the High
yeah. I
Republic
think
era and quite happy to see
yeah,
what happens.
yeah. Your
Let
mentality
alone,
is always like, more Star Wars is good Star Wars, because you watch
yeah, that
Star
is
Wars,
still the case. Like,
we
this
want
is a
more of it. Yeah,
franchise that
yeah,
for X amount of years was pretty much given nothing, and then for another X amount of years was then given nothing. So now we're at a point when we're getting something regularly. We should also be thankful. But
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, there could be better quality at times, and a lot of it is as simple as you could have done more episodes or longer episodes, which kind of
Yeah,
like that's not asking much, if you get what I mean. You're not asking to do something completely different. You're not asking to change. Just make it longer and just give us more time with, even if
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
pointless rubbish with the characters. That's your
yeah.
investment
I mean,
time.
it's
That's when
always,
you kind
yeah,
of learn
it's
about them
always
and get
gonna,
to know them as people. Like,
yeah.
ultimately, Soul feels a bit, as a
I
character,
just
feels
think
a
at
bit
this moment
empty.
in
He just
time,
feels
yeah,
empty because we don't have
yeah,
enough time and we don't know
yeah,
his motivations. We don't know him enough. Like, we're seeing him in a really high pressure stress situation,
yeah, yeah,
which the Jedi hadn't had many of for a long time. And you're like,
yeah,
give us time to see why he behaves that way.
yeah. And that's
That
just us,
flashback's not enough. That's
yeah,
not about
coming off.
him. That's about other
Yeah, yeah,
people.
and that's just us
He's
coming
just
across
there.
as, yeah, exactly. And that goes just with us as viewers, that this is it. Now, obviously, we'll move on from this, and something else will come out, and this will just be
Yeah.
another chapter in the Star Wars universe, which
Yeah.
expands everything, which is
And
cool, and
grows. Yeah.
and grows. Yeah, and you're gonna get a lot of people that love this show, and are gonna be fondly remembering it, as the introduction to Star Wars, or just like, yeah, I really like that show. And people are gonna who not gonna just and move on from it when it's fine. But it's just another piece of the big universe that Star Wars is creating, but which is great. But as a from a critical eye, like we have problems with it, and that's try to address them next
Yeah.
time. But if you enjoyed the show, fair play to you. And you know what? As I said, I'm seeing a lot of people that really enjoyed the show, and I really, because this show got really obviously lambasted and blasted by these, really angry fans. But then it really badly, like, it got like voted down like by bots and stuff. So the rating on IMDb and all that went really, really down. Like, you've got these really angry people that just, really wanted to see it die. And like, oh, Star Wars is dead now. Star Wars is RIP Star Wars. But they're still going to watch the next thing anyway. So,
yeah,
but
exactly.
there's a lot of people that love it, and fair play to you. That's fine. And I hope, they just continue to make better quality stuff. But you know what? Like you said, any Star Wars is fine, because I will watch it. I managed to watch this whole thing. I didn't give up on it. I did at times want to stop, and I think, actually, if I stop watching this, I don't think it's going to affect my future viewing of the Star Wars, and I don't have to, I'm not going to get confused with what happens next, because it's not going to be the basis really of anything. I think it's just like, a bit of a side story kind of thing, that it doesn't really matter if you skip it or not. But I managed to watch the whole thing. But again, it's like, it's just another chapter in Star Wars. And if they do link it into a lot of the main stuff, that's fine. But I don't think if you don't watch it, it's fine as well. Just try to do a little bit better next time, please. If you want to rewriting and directing stuff. But it's fine, it's there. And I guess we can just appreciate the stuff that they've done well in this, and hopefully next time we can do it better if they do for a season 2.
Exactly. And ultimately, it's not a taxing or difficult watch. It is something you can just put on and just kind of chill out to as well. And I think that is needed in Star Wars, because so much of Star Wars can feel quite intense, especially because it's getting less camp and more serious at times, and it has done over the years. Like, ultimately, the original trilogy is an easy watch, but the prequels are harder. The sequels are an easy watch because they're just big, massive blockbuster films. But then you've got things like Andor that's a tougher watch because it's more serious. So you do need those. This is an exceptionally easy watch, even compared to things like Mandalorian, Ahsoka, etc. All of those ones that are sort of more of a pop style of Star Wars. This is a very easy watch as well.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take many brain cells to watch it.
Watch it. And I appreciate what it does well.
We can appreciate that as well.
It's not all bad. And it's, if like I said, if the stuff I didn't like about it, I just like, all right, that's just a bit silly, and then that was it. Then I was like, okay, it's not gonna affect your life in a massive way. I don't think it does anything massively damaging to Star Wars.
It's not one of those series that you look forward to the next episode coming next week, like you did with Mandalorian in season 1, and especially season 2. You really did, because they were hinting to the next episode every time. They really had us in the palm of their hands during that point. But this one, it's not that. But it's not. It's one of those shows where you're like, well, it's out, so I'll watch it.
Yeah.
And that kind of exists. There's a little, there's shows on Netflix that are like that. People will say that I'm currently watching that Loudermilk show. That's a bit like that. It's on there, so I'll watch it. It's nothing spectacular, but it's on there, so I will watch it. And it's like that. That's cool. That's allowed.
Yeah, and it's all like and it's all like all building up to the next set of movies and shows that are going to be coming out. Like, you can tell that they're building up to a new start for the franchise now, because obviously the prequel era, the original trilogy narrative is finished now, and then
they're moving away.
They're moving away from that's done, and then the prequel era stuff is kind of, they've done a lot in the last couple of years for the prequel era stuff with the Ahsoka and all that, and the Clone Wars stuff, but that's kind of like finishing off now as well. But now it's starting to like doing way stuff like way before the prequels, like
the Mandoverse is kind of. The Mandoverse kind of covers all trilogies. It covers all trilogies. It's also justifying the existence of the third trilogy, which I think is important. And to be honest, like, I think most fans are less angry with how that ended, but simply because they are justifying it and they are sticking to their guns. I think it would have been seen as a coward's way out to just say no, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, they're gonna fix the sequel stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's necessary and needed and good, so that's fine. But they're clearly showing with this show that this is like the first time they're fully moving away, isn't it? I think, because this is the first. So they're trying to. There's no other media that's really far away other than the stuff that's not canon that they put out.
There is Yeah. I think they're going to be doing other stuff with the hieroglyph, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this is stuff that we haven't seen before. And again, it's not really super connected to the main
Yeah,
series, so that's good. And obviously, the movies coming out is just going to be finishing off from the with Daisy Ridley and everyone, with that prequel era, sorry, sequel era stuff as well. But but yeah, it's just expanding more stuff
yeah,
now, and all setting up for the future, which is moving away
yes.
from this
Which is
the old
good.
stuff. Just yeah,
We've
which is all
we've wanted that for a long time.
yeah. Even
So
with like the video games as well, like Jedi Survivor and all that kind of stuff, it's all like differently stuff, which is fine because I think
Survivor definitely. Survivor definitely is worth playing if you haven't played the Fallen Order and Survivor games. Play
yeah,
them
yeah,
before. It's not necessary, but before you watch the Acolyte, it just gives you some more context. Makes it a bit less jarring when you start watching it at the start
yeah,
because you
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of know you know what they're going to be wearing and things like that. Like you don't need to, because when you see the Jedi initially in it, it is a bit like, oh my god, what is going on? Because it's all so different to what you used to in the prequels
yeah,
and in
yeah,
the
yeah,
Clone Wars show. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
is worth doing that, I
Yeah,
guess.
definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna try and play that over there somewhere if I can.
Yeah,
Cool. But okay, brilliant. Thank you so much then, Dan. I think that we've covered everything
yeah.
on the Afterlight. And if you had to give a rating out of 5 for this show, what would you say? Or 10, however you want to
Um,
put 5, because I've used
yeah,
Letterboxd a lot.
yeah. Five would do. Yeah, letterbox. Um, I've been inclined to be generous to it and give it a 3. I
Yeah,
try and give realistic and not emotional, if that makes sense, in my star ratings. So out of
yeah, yeah,
5,
yeah, yeah.
like part of me thinks 2.5 is probably where it should be, but I think 3 is fair because a 2.5, I'm basically going like, yeah, I thought it didn't offend me, but it didn't excite me. Well, this did excite me. It just didn't offend me, but there was things in it to be excited about.
Yeah,
So I guess 3 star probably is roughly where I'd put it.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't
That's
know.
fair. I think. Yeah, that's fair. But no, no, thank you for that.
Where would you
And
put it?
I'd probably put it a little bit less,
Yeah,
because it's not terrible, but it's
two
like there's
two
some
point
two
five.
and a half. I think, yeah, 2.5 is
Yeah,
fine for me. 2.5 is fine for me
yeah,
because I was literally watched. I was watching as I was doing other stuff, and then didn't really invest me, but I can appreciate the stuff that that it did well, and the
yeah.
stuff that they were trying to do with it, even though it didn't come across.
Well, I
I
appreciate
think
this more than I appreciate Ahsoka. Like,
yeah,
and Ahsoka's geared to me because I love the character. I love Thrawn. All this kind of stuff. The Night Sister stuff. Everything's there. It's all different and new Star Wars in that, as
I
other than the
think that
characters.
I think that's
But I
what.
just
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely
I
a big
just
big point because it did something tried to do something really different with
yeah,
the twins and the virgins and and
yeah,
the showing Jedi's and the Siths from different perspectives, that kind of stuff, and it's just not got any characters that we know apart, and it just had a little cameo drop from other people,
yeah,
but it was based literally around new people,
yeah,
and it wasn't anything to do with bringing any sort of character that we knew from comics or games or whatever novels. It was just literally brand new characters, which is cool, and I want to see more of that. And I'm happy that they're moving away from just giving shows to one character that we know and love, because that kind of thing is kind of
yeah,
done to them a little bit. So it's fine, but I just think they could have just done it. Like I said, that all the elements were there, but it just didn't show it as well as they could have. And if it was written by someone different, maybe, or just done it in a better way, really could have done a good job with this. Because it's an interesting concept with Virgin's thing and these two
yeah,
twins, where they're coming from, and showing the Jedi at their worst and the Sith, and and all that gearing up to something else. That could have been done in a really much better way, but
mm,
I think the way they've done it, and fix the time frame
mm.
of your episodes, because that is just not
That's the
cool.
biggest bugbear, is that it was only 8 episodes long
It's not
and they were
cool.
all short.
It's
I mean,
not
the longest one was 59 minutes, but take away about 7 minutes of that was credits,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
was the finale as well.
Just
Like,
fix.
really?
I don't know. There must be. It's just easier for them to whack these out, but it's really hurting Star Wars. I think if
Yeah,
from anything, I think this is it's been my bugbear since Andor, and you just can't. You got to stop doing that. You got to let these things play out. And if it's streaming, do however long you want to do, because people are watching it at home.
yeah,
Got
yeah, yeah,
Stranger Things having 2.5 hour. episodes for each for each one of their new seasons. If people are watching this at home, you don't need to worry about time limits.
I mean,
It's not about cinema screenings where you have to pack in as many showings as possible.
Bad
Do
Batch
it.
started with a feature-length episode.
Yeah,
Bad
yeah,
Batch. And guess what? Everyone loved it.
yeah,
Why are you releasing 2 episodes on the opening day, which is something they started doing because they had to apologise for delaying a show,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then they just carried on doing it for the rest of them
yeah,
anyway
yeah,
because
yeah,
it benefits it and gets people interested more.
yeah,
They
yeah,
clearly have seen a reason to do it. I'd imagine it's that. And it's
yeah.
like, well, if that's the case, why aren't you making it a feature length? Because you're putting 2 45-minute episodes together anyway.
Yeah,
That's
and they're
90
releasing it
minutes.
weekly as well. So if
Yeah,
you want to get people talking and invested, do longer episodes and do them weekly. Come on, Disney,
yeah.
sort it out. Like, come on, you got House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones doing weekly 1 hour episodes, and and the weekly stuff works well. Boys are doing it right now. 1 hour episodes every
Ted
week.
Lasso had
Yeah, yeah,
hour 10 episodes towards the
yeah,
end of the last series.
yeah,
Like, come on, that's Ted Lasso.
yeah,
And it works. And guess what? It's one of the most. Many would say it's the best show of the
yeah,
2020s.
yeah. I've heard.
What? Like, come on.
I think if they fix that, give it more time to cook, I would have been a little bit more invested. Even if they messed up
Definitely.
with the story, at least you got an hour to tell that story. Even if it's bad,
Yeah.
at least the characters can have time to cook. Yeah,
Yeah. Character
that's the
development
biggest
is
of them.
so
Yeah,
important.
it's
There's so
the way they
little
do
character
things.
development
Yeah,
in this series. It was
I think that's
ridiculous.
the main problem, right? Because you longer episodes sorts out half the problem with the writing because you have longer time to write stuff. And even if
Yeah.
it's bad writing, at least I can understand the motivations of of the characters,
Yeah.
even if their motivations don't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right, so Acolyte. Okay, so there it is. Okay, could have been better, but some good stuff. But I wasn't a big fan of it, and I think it just shows up some fundamental issues that they need to sort out with their writing and
Yeah.
their episode runtime. So sort it out, Disney, because it's not terrible. It could have been a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's
That's.
definitely. I'd say for me, like it's on a level with Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, which is just comes out, and I don't think much of it, and it just.
Yeah.
And then it just disappears, and that's it. And I don't remember it, and that's the worst thing. I'm not going to remember this show because it just didn't do anything,
Yeah.
massively.
By the time
Even
series 2 comes out, you're like, oh,
maybe
what?
series 2, yeah. Even the freaking what do they call it? Oh, they called the ship something, Quimir or something like that, because they had to put in a romance, didn't they, to try and get watch it. I can't remember what they called it. There's a special name for it now. Quamisha or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Here we go. We're doing that again. We're doing that again.
Yeah.
Brings in the fan art and and that's why I had to get his top off because thirst trap. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hot this guy. It's like, wow. Okay, so this is definitely not for me. It's like, who is it for? But not for me. But anyway, yeah, not for me. I'm going to say that. Not for me. This show was not for me. But if you enjoyed it, I'm happy for you. Thank you so much, Dan, for joining us. It's gone a bit
Not
too
a problem.
long, but it's all good. But please do listen to Dan Music Fishbowl. Catch up with him there with his pretty much daily or weekly, daily posts, weekly recordings, loads of stuff on there. Catch up on that.
I try to do as much as I can.
Yeah, and you are doing a lot, and I appreciate that. And and thank you again. Like anyone listening from Dan's podcast as well, thank you so much. But yeah, go listen to him. Really, really good stuff in there, Dels. And I'm really impressed with how you're doing. Sorry, with this because
thank you.
You're just getting bigger and bigger. And with so many people coming into contact with you, and you have
that's the unbelievable part is the people contacting me and speaking to me about it and all the nice words people have to say. It's just I have to make sure I keep my head above the ground.
No, I do.
Keep it out my backside.
I also appreciate it because obviously that you started the podcast thing, and then I learned a lot from you to make mistakes. So you inspired me to do this one, and the way you talk to them, and your role research. But I think you make them feel comfortable because I remember when I first did the podcast for you at Music Fishbowl, I was so nervous, and I remember shaking a little bit, and I had a beer to calm me down, but it's quite nerve wracking. But I think you make everyone calm and comfortable, and then that inspired me to gain more confidence to do my own one as well. So
and I think that's that. that's the important part. You know, I've always been fine with it. I'm not someone who gets much stage fright anyway. But like I appreciate like other people do. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
just try and make people comfortable, feel good about
yeah,
themselves, and make them enjoy the experience. You know, it shouldn't be a
yeah.
horror, but I always enjoy
It's
podcasting with
always
you
fun. Yeah,
and
it's
things.
always nice.
It's always
Yeah,
nice. Yeah,
it's cool. So
exactly.
if you're listening and you're a musician artist, please get in contact with Dan, and yeah, we'd love probably love to have you on if you're
Yeah.
listening, and you're an artist.
Well, anyone
Awesome.
just wants to have a chat about music, just let me know because I'm
Yeah,
quite happy to do
yeah,
those kind of
true.
episodes as well, just talking about
Yeah, yeah,
music.
collect.
So
Yeah, true.
that's always
Collecting if
good.
you're collecting. Yeah,
Yeah,
collecting
record
vinyls or
collector,
anything to do with
anything.
music. Yeah, yeah, music. That's why I
Yeah,
like it. It's anything and everything. Music
yeah,
related is awesome, isn't it? So now, if you are, please get in touch with Dan
yes.
at Music
Thank
Fishbowl.
you.
Listen to him on Instagram and TikTok as well, and you can listen to Chaitaku as well on TikTok and um, Instagram, and we'll be putting this up on YouTube as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and yeah, let me know what you thought of the Acolyte, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you're looking forward to with Star Wars. We'll try to catch up again really, really soon. I've got a couple of movies I want to review, which I'll be putting up soon, and then we'll hopefully have a chat with a couple of more people regarding um, some more interesting topics. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and thank you, Dan. All
No
right then.
problem.
Have a good day, everyone, and we'll catch you later. See you later.